A tough blow for the Indiana Fever. Caitlin Clark, if you recall, she's missed 9 games this season. We're recently dealing with a groin injury and looks to have re-aggravated that same groin. With 38 seconds left in Tuesday night's contest against the Sun, the Fever get the win, but there's still questions surrounding Caitlin Clark. We're now joined by CBS Sports WNBA analyst Erica Ayala as the worst team in the W. They did go toe-to-toe with Caitlin Clark and the Fever with Indy, ultimately pulling off that victory, but maybe a little bit of a bittersweet win for the Fever, as under a minute to go, Clark was seen grabbing her groin. That's an injury that she missed several games because of this season. You could see her frustration on her face. She was holding back tears, had the towel over her head, but I want to get your reaction to seeing what transpired there on the floor.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit off air about the injuries that Caitlin Clark has had. Most recently, the groin injury, a quad strain, an ankle, all up and down that same leg. And those injuries can be very difficult for a basketball player, any athlete really, that has a lot of start and stop motion. And it looked like, again, short stop, Caitlin Clark trying to get a good angle. She does complete the pass and get the points for the Indiana Fever. However, it looked to be that start-stop motion just there that aggravated what was likely the groin injury. As you mentioned, very visibly upset and emotional Caitlin Clark was. And this has implications, of course, for the All-Star game coming up, which Caitlin Clark is one of the captains, but this was the first game of a back-to-back on the East Coast for the Indiana Fever before heading back home for All-Star festivities as they play the New York Liberty. And we don't know yet, but if Caitlin Clark were to miss that game, high marquee game, because of how those two teams have played this season, that could be a tough one for the Indiana Fever.
Absolutely, and tough nonetheless if she's expected to miss time, because if she's missed 9 games so far this season, if I'm not mistaken, the Fever with a 4-5 record, 5-4 record when she's not on the court. But I want to know, how disappointed would you be just if Clark is forced to miss extended time, already missed a number of games so far this season? Clearly a big face and a big driving factor of the W, but what would it mean if she is forced to sit?
You know, that's the interesting question. For all of the things that you mentioned, you want Caitlin Clark in this game for what she can do when she's healthy. She's able to also stretch the defense because she can shoot from basically anywhere. And so, of course, that's a weapon that the Indiana Fever would like to have as they're looking to make a playoff push. However, we have seen that the Indiana Fever, they have a few different rotations, even when Caitlin Clark is in the game, that they're able to use. And Ari McDonald has been a really great pickup. Once Dewana Bonner left, requested to leave the Indiana Fever, that left an open roster spot, a permanent roster spot where McDonald could slide in. She's also able to get this team downhill, which is a nice add. The Fever like to play in transition. So they'll play a different style of game and then do what they've done before, Kiana, which is hopefully play strong, aggressive defense that will lead them to offensive transition and hopefully get their star player back if and when they're able to make a playoff push.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, because the Fever, I mean, they stay hot, notching their 4th straight win, including their Commissioner's Cup championship. But I wanted to ask you, this was a little bit, even prior to the injury, maybe a bit of an off night again for Caitlin Clark, not shooting what we might be used to seeing her shoot. But just how has this Fever team managed to win these games with, one, Clark not necessarily playing what we're used to seeing from her, but 2, even if she's forced to be sat for an extended period of time again?
Yeah, let's start with just how Clark and the shooting hasn't necessarily been there. Again, with the injuries that she's been dealing with, it's not surprising to me to see that the perimeter shooting hasn't been there. I was quite honestly a little bit surprised that she was announced for the 3-point contest, more so because of the injuries. But of course, it makes complete sense with her being on the Fever, big draw, all of those things. But more so thinking of the injuries, it's difficult. You have to have your legs underneath you when you're shooting at the percentage that we know Clark can when when she's healthy and from the distance that she shoots. But to go back to what the Fever team does, even with an injured Clark, they look for her to facilitate. She's fantastic with being able to see the court. And that, again, is something that players like McDonald, players like Sydney Colson, Lexi Hull will likely have a different role with this team if we see Caitlin Clark out of the lineup for any extended period of time.
Well, you brought up the three-point contest because she's supposed to be headlining it on Friday as part of the WNBA All-Star Weekend. Her first appearance as such, and you mentioned it, she had the opportunity to do it last year, but she wanted to do that on her home court out there in Indianapolis. But if she is to play, she'll be joined by Liberty Sabrina Ionescu, Mystic Sonia Citron, Sparks Kelsey Plum, and the Dream's defending champ, Alicia Gray. But Clark, who's known for her three-point shooting, we talked about this just a few moments ago. She struggled a bit this season from beyond the arc, shooting just under 29%. But say, Clark, I know it's still a lot of questions and we're still waiting some answers, but looking at this field, who are you giving the edge to?
Yeah, this is interesting because if you look at just the three-pointers made, Kelsey Plum actually leads the field with 50 three-pointers made this season, followed by Alicia Gray, who won last year, and then Sabrina Ionescu. Now, if you slot in players overall in the league, Kelsey Mitchell, who of course is Caitlin Clark's teammate with Indiana, actually slides in there. So on three-pointers made, you have to think Plum Dog is going to be very, very competitive. However, this is a contest. This comes with a little flare, a little pressure. And I don't know. I'd have to lean, assuming that Clark is healthy, for probably a Clark Ionescu final. I think that's what a lot of people want to see. Although I never take Alicia Gray out of it, especially since the WNBPA was able to secure some sponsors and up the bonus money. Gray knows how to earn some bonus money and get that check. She won not only the three-point contest, but skills, and is in a position to defend her titles once again in Indianapolis.
I'm just going to say, money talks. It'll make me bring my A game too if we're bumping up that paycheck right there. But nonetheless, I know we want to see the best stars out there giving their best efforts. So still yet to be seen what goes on Friday, but can't wait to see it. As always, Erica Ayala, appreciate you stopping by. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sis.
Well, a big-time matchup deserves a big-time network. The Fever will be back in action Wednesday night on the road against the reigning champion Liberty. Still questions, still TBD on the status of Caitlin Clark heading into a quick turnaround out in the Big Apple. But you can catch the action on CBS Sports Network Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern.